This podcast contains content some people may find distressing. Listeners' discretion is advised.
She's physically done.
She's not even physically done.
Really?
No. She's laying on the floor. And you can see it again in the footage.
Her legs have been mushed.
Her legs are mushed, but her brain is fine. She's so alert that she's punching officers, spitting at officers, cursing the officers, trying to scratch on them. She's on the floor. They're trying to help her. Her legs, she's like half sitting up, screaming. Like in the video, you can see the rage. Like she was in a state of rage with the officers. You would think with the how big the truck was and how she got hit that she would be like gone, you know?
It was a massive truck. Like there is video footage of this online, guys, and you won't see everything. Like they won't allow you to see every little thing.
Yeah.
And the angles that I saw, they were shot in a way where, for example, you see Ursula get run over by the truck, but you don't see the exact point of impact on her feet because the police officer is in front and his head is kind of blocking that viewpoint.
Yeah.
But you know exactly what's happened. And then Sabina's,
it's
Ursula's
wild.
is really bad though.
Yeah, Ursula's was, she stayed in hospital till September.
How many months would that have been?
She went to visit in May of 2008. So this must have been sometime around May. So 4 months she was in hospital at least.
And even then, that might be a quick recovery. And then
Even
she would have
then,
left
yeah.
with crutches and everything else.
It's wild. And so at this stage, while Ursula is screaming, punching cops, Sabina is knocked out for 15 minutes. So they're trying to help them, right? And she wakes up 15 minutes later and she's super calm at first. She's chill, she's calm. Again, I need to stress that there were no outwardly injuries to her. Like
To Sabina.
Yeah. Like nothing, not even a scratch.
As if she didn't even touch that car.
Literally. And so she gets up and she's fine. She wakes up, she comes to, she's fine. Until Ursula looks at her and she says, be careful, they're going to harvest your organs.
Yeah, because they're both paranoid.
Literally. And tell me why Sabina, she gets up. She gets all the strength in the world, gets up so quick, and literally starts trying to get away from cops, okay? And the cops are trying to tell her, we're trying to help you. Like, hold on, we're trying to help you. No. And you can hear them scream, no, like, stop, like, stop. Yeah. She gets up. A cop who's trying to help her grabs her. She literally punches him in the face, square in the face, and proceeded to run on the opposite side of the highway. Now, thankfully, at this stage, people are looking at the commotion. They see that things are up.
They've slowed down.
They've slowed down, right? And it's good that they've slowed down because they needed civilians' help at this stage.
Like 2-3 random people came to carry.
Literally. In total, there were 6 people. One of the officers described it as inhuman strength. And can I say, the first time that Ursula jumped into traffic and then Sabina followed and the whole Volkswagen, thing happened, the cop who was there literally reported it as a possible fatality. He thought they weren't going to make it. Like, he was like, at least, like, Sabina is not making, like, Ursula, is not making it after that, right? And to their surprise, when the cop tried to, like, restrain her, he described her as having inhuman strength. Even when they handcuffed her, it wasn't enough to keep her calm. And keep in mind, again, this is a woman.
Did they sedate her?
Yes. This is a woman who had been knocked out for 15 minutes, got hit twice. This is the second time now by a car. And she just gets up, has the energy to get up and run and punch an officer. How?
And then, here's the shocking thing. When she's taken into custody, she's let out very quickly.
We're skipping ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Go on.
No, you're right.
What did I miss?
You missed the fact that they had to get helicopters to take Ursula to hospital.
Oh.
And they took Sabina also to hospital. And the fact of the matter is, they tested Ursula's blood because, again, they're filming for a cop show. And you can hear the cops trying to rationalize what is going on.
Maybe they're drunk or high or off cocaine or something, but they're not.
They're not. Tox report came back clean. Ursula wasn't on any drugs. Because Ursula wasn't on any drugs, they didn't find it necessary to test Sabina for drugs.
Why? That's just strange.
Yeah.
Why can't one of them be high?
Literally.
A lot of mistakes were made in the procedure.
So many. And the biggest one of them all is that they said that they were going to... There was footage that was leaked that was conveniently cut from the whole saga of this.
I think I know what you're referring to. Carry on.
Yeah, it was leaked months later of one of the cops saying, we're going to detain them under some article, under some law saying that they're basically a danger to themselves and others. So we're going to hold them.
With mental health issues.
Yes. So we're going to hold them. But they never ended up doing that. And it caused a devastating effect on a person's life, which I will get to.
Let's not skip too far ahead. Yeah.
So the fact that the tox report came back normal and all of that, they also checked the bags because the bags were left on the scene of, they were left on the motorway. Checked the bags. There was nothing in the bags except for a bunch of phones. And when I posted this on TikTok and I was like, there was nothing suspicious in the bags. Just a bunch of phones. I had a lot of comments saying a bunch of phones is suspicious. But at the same time, I feel like police would maybe know, like if they checked through the phones and saw that there was nothing up, or maybe would have come up in, again, I'm jumping too far ahead, but in Sabina's trial, something like that. But nothing came out of the phones. There was nothing suspicious on the phones. I'm not saying that having a bunch of phones isn't suspicious.
I think it would appear that a lot of the problems that Sabina and Ursula had were in their heads rather than in anything they had or had taken.
Yes, or anything that they have done.
Yeah.
So they also found an ID for one of the twins, but not for another. So only one of them had an ID. And so obviously at this stage, Ursula is in hospital, where again, she stays
like
till
4 or 5 months.
Yeah, September.
But then Sabina is let out how quickly?
Yeah, and Sabina, before she went to the police, she was in hospital. Guess how long she was in hospital for?
I can't guess because I know the answer. I've done my prep.
She was hit by a car twice and only in the hospital for 5 hours.
That is crazy, yeah. That's what I meant when I said she was released way too quickly. Under any circumstances, you're released way too quickly.
5 hours? What do you mean?
That was my drive here.
Literally. They were like, you don't have any injuries. Like, there are no injuries. She was literally completely fine to the point where she was let out 5 hours later.
I'd be testing her DNA to see why she's that strong. I'm not even exaggerating.
How? Yeah. How on earth is that even possible?
And it's not like she was this big, sturdy bodybuilder. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah,
there was nothing.
She was a regular woman.
She was nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So when she's let out, it gets interesting.
It does, but keep in mind they also never gave her a full psychiatric evaluation.
Again, another mistake in a procedure.
Yeah. So she goes from the hospital to the police station. They question her. And at this stage, she is so normal. She's flirting with cops. She's having conversations with cops. I'm telling you, regular person. Like, there is nothing outwardly off about her.
She was acting super paranoid. They both were acting very super paranoid.
Talking about they're going to steal your organs.
Yeah, and how quickly did Sabina settle down?
Literally.
That's a psychological question in and of itself.
Literally. It was crazy. She was flirting with them. It was wild. And so what they did was they charged her for assaulting a police officer and trespassing on the highway because it's illegal to do that, obviously.
And how long did she get for this?
1 day. She spent the night in prison. She was let out the next day.
She must have flirted well.
Literally.
I'm just
Why
saying,
else?
You assaulted somebody and you trespassed. And it's not like a regular trespass where I go into an abandoned warehouse or a private car park. This is life risking.
You're endangering other people's lives. Yeah, essentially.
And to get 1 day for that.
It's wild.
I could get more for some of the things I've said on this podcast.
Literally. It's absolutely crazy. Right? It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And another weird thing. So 2 weird things, though, happened in the police interview. One weird thing she said was, in Sweden, we believe that accidents don't happen alone.
They come in threes.
She didn't say in threes. She said they're always followed by one more. And her entire time there, after watching her sister being hit by a truck, she not once asked about her, about where she was, how she was doing, nothing. It's as if Ursula didn't even exist to her in that room.
That's just strange.
Other than that one comment that was made about accidents happen, and like one accident happens and then another one follows.
Okay, I have opinions, but proceed.
Okay. Wait, tell me what you think.
It might be easy for me to say this. I'm not in the moment. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say is that you show no concern or remorse for your sister.
Yeah.
You show some bipolar disorder of some point where 1 minute you're hysteric, the next you're calm and flirting.
Yeah.
You've also picked up no injuries, as if you're bloody Wolverine out here.
Literally.
And yet, the police officers felt like this was a normal enough situation to firstly not give a proper psychiatric review.
Yeah.
Or a background check.
Yeah.
Like, what makes people act like this? Normal people can do crazy things. I'm not saying that anyone who does something crazy has to be crazy. Normal people can do crazy things, but they're often led to that. So is there a check we can do? Is there someone we can find out? A parent we can talk to? A sibling, a brother?
No.
The whole process of evaluating her, taking her to hospital, and then letting her out in less than a day or 2 days is baffling to me. I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either. It was definitely an error from their part, and I have no idea why they did this error, but it went on to affect so many people.
I can imagine.
So another thing is, when she was in that police interview, they asked her if she's ever tried to harm herself, and she said no, even though she's jumped in front of 2 cars.
Did she do that? Oh. Did she do that deliberately, correct?
Yeah. She was literally running towards it.
But did she think she was going to make it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing for me to throw myself in front of a car. It's another to run and expect myself to get to the other side.
I think she did it deliberately because of what goes on to happen.
Okay.
But yeah, so I would say it's deliberate in a sense, right?
Understood.
So after she's been released, I think this is in an area in the UK called Stoke-on-Trent.
Yes.
So she gets released, and she's never been to this area before. She knows nothing about it. And she's standing outside the police station looking very, very confused. And there was this man, his name was Glenn, and he was walking with a friend of his called Peter, I think. Yeah, with his friend Peter, and Glenn was walking his dog. And Glenn kept looking at her because he could tell she was confused. He could tell something was off. And while they were kind of making eye contact, she was like, "Oh, that's a nice dog you got there." So Glenn walked over and he was like, "Are you okay? You look out of sorts. You look confused. What's going on?" And she was like, "Well, I'm looking for a bed and breakfast. Do you know any around?" And he's like, "I don't know any bed or breakfasts." And she's like, "Well, I'm in this situation. My sister is in hospital. I don't know which hospital she's in. I really want to find her."
So now she's trying to, she is now showing remorse for Ursula, but wasn't when the police were around.
Literally.
Very strange.
It is. And so he says, "Perfect. I have a brother who works in a hospital. I can ask him to put your contact details around her, not at least your sister's name, and he can get back to me and I can help you find her." Basically, there are no bed and breakfasts, but you can come stay at my place. And
were there actually no bed and breakfasts?
I don't know, but my thing was, when I talked about the story on TikTok, some people were victim blaming Glenn, in a sense.
I'm not sure if, as a random person, I would go as far as being that generous to offer up my home.
But he was.
However, the alternative to that is, and I don't know his financial situation, is I do feel really remorseful and sorry for you.
Yeah.
I might not be comfortable to take you home with me.
Yeah.
But can I please pay for a place for you to stay?
Yeah.
Now, if there really were no bed and breakfast, then that's entirely different.
Yeah.
But I'm sure somewhere in Stoke, or maybe they were in a rural part, maybe they were the outskirts. I don't really know.
I have no idea. I mean, Glenn, in general, was described by people who knew him as a very helpful and generous man.
Yeah, but anyone who dies, something like that comes out about them, with all due respect.
No, there have been people who died and, have had things said about them that weren't up to par. Like, yes, that would be a great example.
There's no need for these comments, Laza.
No, but you have a point. You do, but...
No, but he was actually an absolute dictator who I hope is burning a million times a day.
Yes, 1,000%. But Glenn was amazing, right? He was generous.
He was old
and that
as well.
shows your generosity as well. You know what I mean? Like,
wasn't he ex-army or was that Peter?
I'm not sure.
One of them was ex-army as well.
No, but I don't know. I don't want any Glenn slander, please. He was being super nice and friendly.
Glenn, yes, I take my suspicions back. And he's dead.
Yeah, and people were saying, like, look at where his kindness got him. You know what I mean? It's really sad.
But 99 times out of 10, that does not happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It doesn't.
99 times out of 100.
No, yeah.
Like, God forbid. Anyways, without spoiling it.
Yeah. Without spoiling it, which we
I
did.
haven't. No, we kind of didn't. The actual act itself is wow.
It's wild. And everything was normal, you know? He took her back to his place and they weren't alone. Peter was there. They had a few drinks. At first she was warm and friendly and everything was fine. But then she started acting weird. So she had a pack of cigarettes with her and she offered Glenn and Peter a cigarette each. And then when they went to put the cigarette in their mouth, she was like, "What are you doing? These could be poison."
The paranoia is kicking back in.
Yeah, and they were like, hold on, what is going on? Like, what's happening? She would get up and look out the window and close the blinds out of nowhere and do this thing where she was just like really, really paranoid. And obviously some of the reason she's with Glenn is because of his brother and his connections, and he could potentially help her find Ursula. So he asks about Ursula. He asks her questions and she makes it into a really awkward silence, or she changes the topic. And so before Peter leaves, he tells Glenn, listen, I think there's something off here. She's acting weird. I don't think this is a safe situation for you. He raises concerns. And Glenn says, you know what? No. She looks like she needs help and I want to help her. And that's the kind of person he was. You know, that's why I'm like, I don't stand Glenn.
We stand Glenn on this channel.
We love Glenn.
Much love.
So all is fine, actually, until the next day at 7 p.m. Glenn has cooked them food and all is well. And he goes outside to get some, what was he getting? To get some tea from his neighbor because he wanted to make tea and he'd run out, whatever. So his neighbor is outside washing his car. And he's like, okay, I'll get you some tea. Let me just finish washing my car. I'll go back inside, get the tea, and give it to you. So Glenn walks in, and as soon as he's in, not even a minute goes by, and Sabina literally stabs him 4 to 5 times.
In the head, right?
Everywhere. Like, I think one of the stabs was in the heart, and he was clutching his stomach when he walked out.
Wow.
So she stabs him, and he opens the door, he gets out, he's clutching his stomach, and he collapses in the front of his home. And the neighbor obviously sees this and runs to Glenn and calls 999. And it's so sad. He's like, he kept repeating, she stabbed me. And then the next thing he said was, please take care of my dog. And so
it gets stranger. Because when Sabina's running out, she's doing what?
Yeah, she's hitting herself on the head with a hammer. So
where did she even get the hammer?
I don't know. While the neighbor was on the phone,
murder,
yeah, with 999, she gets out, she sprints out, starts running out of nowhere.
Hammer in her hand.
Yeah.
And she's repeatedly beating herself on the head with a hammer.
Well, she stops running, she sits down, and she keeps kind of hitting herself over and over and over again to the point where her head is, like, her hair is matted with blood. And so a passerby, he's driving, right? I can't remember his name. Joshua. He's driving and he sees her doing this. So he gets out of his car. He tries to help her. She gets a weapon out of her back pocket.
Is it a roof tile or something?
Yeah. Hits him over the back of the head. Gets up. Starts to run. And at this point, paramedics see what's happening. So paramedics are running after her, trying to stop her from doing anything else to herself. She reaches a bridge that's over like a highway. It's like a 30-foot drop. And she literally jumps off the bridge. And that's when she sustains injuries of her, like, to both her ankles. Her ankles are broken. I think she gets like her ribs. She hurts her ribs or something like that. But the fact of the matter is she's still alive. How are you alive after getting hit? I mean, I'm glad, but how are you alive after getting hit twice by a car? And the second time you damage the car, you hit yourself with a hammer. And then you
jumping
jump
off a 12-meter bridge. and both her ankles were sprained or broken, and she fractures her skull.
Yeah.
And again, she's taken in by the police services. She's taken to hospital first.
Yeah.
And then she's taken into custody.
Yeah.
And this time she's charged, right?
Yes.
Because she's killed somebody.
Yeah. I think she ended up spending 5 years in prison.
I actually, let me see. She did plead guilty instantly.
Yeah.
She was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Do you know how many days she actually served?
Days?
Yeah.
Huh?
No, as in not less than just ask.
I'd say 400.
439 days.
Oh my God.
352 days in a calendar year, correct?
Yeah.
Just over a year.
That's insane.
Sentenced to 5 years.
But that's the thing. It's because...
How is she getting away with everything?
I think because of... Well, they said that it was Folie deux. So basically, Folie deux is like a madness of two. People make fun of me the way I say this on TikTok. But Folie deux, because of... what's it called? Like...
Shared paranoia.
Yeah, shared paranoia.
So you can have the same delusions as somebody if you're close to them, if you live amongst them.
Yeah.
But the difference between Sabina and Ursula, and let's say another case of Folie deux, is that Ursula had to fly in to be with Sabina. So unless we're talking about that short time frame in which things are happening in, and they run away, they're not really within close proximity.
Yeah.
So their delusions synced up very quickly.
Yeah, because they're twins. This Folie deux almost always happens to twins.